I was wrong in doing what I did. No! Are you listening?
Sean here, and I want to talk about a nightmare scenario. This would be something that would be a disaster for everybody, including the state, federal, for us, the Lorne RP community, for the Armstrong family, for the person that decided they wanted to do it. This is sparked by a post that Blue Boy put out on their channel, essentially asking an opinion about somebody overseas befriending and getting involved with the Armstrong family. First off, it's irresponsible, it's arrogant, and it's reckless. And if anybody really did that, they should be prosecuted. There should be a reprimand. People are trying to fix this guy. He's broken. He's not going to change. He's never changed. And they're trying desperately to get him to at least be a contributing member of society. When you are dealing with the Lorne Armstrong, 1 billion people could have a mountain of evidence each, showing him that he's a piece of human garbage. If he could just get one person to show up in person, one individual, sitting across from him, telling him that he's been wronged, that's all he would need. He could now discount everything that's ever happened, everything that's ever been said. Look, this person took the time out of their life to come and see me. This obviously means I'm right. The person coming in would have no idea the damage they would cause. All he needs is one voice agreeing with him. He's the type of person that can take him back a decade. All of that work done, any kind of progress, gone. Well, Maria, Sean, see, I told you, this guy just came in. He told me everything that was going on the internet. He told me that, this and that, and they was catfishing me, and he thought I was right. You've now validated him. He's now going to go back, and he's no longer going to try to accept what he's done and what he's doing. He's going to go back and start fighting it again. People coming in, they have no idea what kind of emotions they're going to drag up. They don't know the dynamics of the family. Most people probably see themselves as this incredible counselor who's going to come in and have a familial breakthrough. Something's going to come up. Something traumatic in the past is going to come up. And you, the outsider, you're going to be the great unifier. But what you may do inadvertently is bring up stuff that doesn't need to be brought up again. You may cause connections that should have never been reconnected. These are all dangers when you come in and you want to play God. This isn't like you met somebody off the street. This isn't like a friend of a friend. This is Lorne Armstrong. This is an unrepentant drunken pedophile whose only claim to infamy is being on To Catch a Predator. But because you've taken an interest and you've decided that he just needs somebody to be there for him, he just needs somebody to be there to hold his hand, you've okayed yourself to go ahead and step into that environment, to start talking to him, to get him to do things. You have no idea what kind of memories you're going to bring up. Lorne's a creature of habit. What if having somebody there to talk to him, like Tony Farmer was? What if having you there? Oh, I remember these feelings. These were the good old days. Somebody actually cared about me. Well, I was drinking all the time back then. Oh, yeah, I'm happy. I'm going to drink because I drink when I'm happy. Or maybe I'm sad, so I'm going to drink when I'm sad. You're coming back in an uncontrolled variable. You're coming into his life. And you're just kind of shooting from the hip. Lorne's a liar. And going in there, you're sitting there talking. Chances are women are going to come up. I mean, that's been his life. It's been catfish women. He's going to tell you about a real woman. He's going to tell you about, oh, we had a real connection. I know what's been said out there. And Lorne may be a good manipulator. Hell, he may even have Roy there. I doubt it, given the state of how they are now. But, oh, yeah, Lorne liked her. Lorne doesn't, or Roy doesn't care. So Lorne's going to tell you a story about a girl, and they had a connection, and it just didn't work out. Sob story. Maybe he didn't have the confidence. He waited too long. Whatever it is. And you, because you're trying to be a pal to him, a good listener, a good friend, maybe you offer some advice. And now this woman, who had been free and clear of this psycho for a long time, may now become his focus again. Now, is that really going to happen? Probably not. But that is just one of thousands of scenarios. Something you could have a hand in just because of your selfishness and your arrogance of wanting to be involved in this person's life in a personal way, not to catfish him, keep him occupied. No. This would be to satisfy your own selfish needs, to say that you were the one who finally helped Lorne. And it makes me feel better to know that this guy is getting some attention. If you're looking at Lorne, say, as like a target, you would have binocular view, surface overview. You'd be able to see some details. Probably some things. Oh, I recognize that. Oh, I understand what that is. Oh, I recognize the shape over there. When you're looking at things, binoculars are useful, right? For getting an overview. If you use a telescope, you'd zoom in too much. And if we didn't know that Lorne was a terrible person, you'd think maybe we're focusing solely on, we're zoomed in just on the to catch a predator thing. And that would be unfair as well. But if you use it in terms of like a rifle scope, something nuanced where you can zoom in and out, you can look at things around them, as I like to say with Lorne, on the peripheral. You can look at things around them. You can zoom in on them when you need to, but you can also zoom in on other things. Lorne requires a very thorough examination before anyone should be allowed into his life. They need to be briefed. They need to be given a list of things to watch out for. They need to be given a list of traits that he has, some past examples, some things that you should allow him to do and not allow him to do. Because he would steamroll all over someone. If he can just get a little bit of sympathy, he's going full force. As I said, Jumpin' Jeff Farmer said in that horrible wrestling interview. Lorne doesn't need friends. He needs authority figures. He needs people that are going to make him and hold him accountable. They're going to make him do things he needs to do. And that's the only way he'll ever get anything done. He is a problem, not a project. Let me say that again. If you think you can help this guy, if you think you're going to be a positive force in his life, think again. He is a problem, not a project. See, at the beginning, they thought, he's a project. We'll work on him. We'll kind of just course correct him here, course correct him there, dirt over here, dirt over there. We'll make a few changes here and there. But then they realized, he's not a project. This dude is a problem. We're going to have to rebuild him from the ground up. His thinking, just the way he does things, the way he sees life in general, all of that has to be altered in a way that's going to make him safe to other people. Even if you had the best intentions, even if you wanted to walk in and say, Lorne, I know you're in $47,000 worth of debt. I'm just making it up. I don't really care. Here's $47,000. You're now out of debt. What do you think's going to happen with Lorne? He's going to immediately go back in debt. He's going to say, oh, all those things I know I shouldn't have been doing, but I wanted to do, I can now do. And I've heard people tell other people, now you can do what you want to do. Get out there and do what you've always wanted to do. What Lorne wants to do is not correct. It's not going to work. It's never going to work. And it's probably not good for him or anyone else. Giving this guy any kind of freedom, emotional freedom especially, is going to end up in, the term we love to use for Lorne, a disaster. When you're at the zoo, you're separated for a reason from those animals, because it wouldn't work out well for any of them. They don't want you to domesticate wild animals. They don't want you to feed the bears, because then the bears, they get used to being fed. You show Lorne any kind of attention. You give him any kind of love, even if it's to make yourself feel better. That is now what he is going to be looking for and expecting. He's not going to want anything else. He's not going to want the treatment. He's not going to want to work for anything. He's going to want whatever it was that you gave him. When you're at the zoo and you're looking at the monkeys and they're swinging around and everything looks great, they're having a great time because they're in their natural habitat. They are how they are supposed to be. You put yourself in that scenario. You envision yourself inside of that enclosure with them. When you get in there, all the swinging stops, the natural activity stops. You may even get shit thrown at you. It doesn't matter. The point is, you've disrupted the natural order of things. You've inserted yourself into a place that you shouldn't be, simply because you were looking inside of that enclosure and saying, I want to be in there with them. Unfortunately, when one of these people, like the groupies for the serial killers or the groupies for these famous criminals, when they've decided they want to be a part of their lives, that's what they're going to do. By the time they've reached the point that they want to meet their, I don't want to say idol or object of affection, their object of interest, they're going to go ahead and do it. You could even give them this scenario. Say you're walking home. You look over and in the window, you see a family of 4 sitting at the table. I remember the church bulletin. That's right, their father died. Well, now I found out their son, he turned to a life of crime because he didn't have enough money. He went to jail a couple times. You know what? They look depressed. They've had a rough life. I'm going to go ahead and walk in there, sit down, and I'm going to have a positive impact. When you look at a family and you're in the streets, or you're in the mall, or wherever you're at, you don't know what's actually happening. You can look at a well-dressed family and think to yourself, oh, they're all smiling and they're eating together. They must have that wonderful all-American home. But that's not always the case. So you walk into this family's house, you have no idea that the mother was actually a prostitute when she was younger. The father had a meth addiction and was abusing the children. You have no idea that it was actually suicide or an overdose to kill the father. It was not something that they saw coming. It was not a dignified death. And it destroyed the family. All you see is that the family was affected in a negative way, and you know there was a death. You know none of the details. Just like if you were to walk into Lorne's life, if you were to walk in there and only go by what he told you or what other people have gathered, because remember, most of what he says turns out to be a lie anyway, and he'll tell you he's lying his ass off, but I'm telling you the truth about it. When you meet people for the first time, it's a general positive interaction. You get to be the person you always want to be. But when you're around people you've been around, the familiarization sets in. You can't be that person because they'll call you fake because they've seen the real you. So let's say you go spend 3 hours with the Armstrong family. Let's say that you go and talk to them. Everything's fine. You laugh, you giggle. You may even have a beer. Lorne, you're not supposed to be drinking. All I know is special occasion, because from now on, every time you come over will be a special occasion. You will be the guy in the Truman Show that always shows up with a six-pack whenever Truman's having any issues. You'll be that guy. You'll be his confidant, his excuse. You'll get information, but you won't get that much information. You won't get the real information. Lorne's done a lot of bad stuff in his life, and you won't get the full story. You'll get a lot of excuses. You'll listen. You'll be polite. You'll try to see the better side of him. You'll ignore everything that you've heard, everything that you've read, the police reports, and so on and so forth. And you'll give him hope, again, that everything he's done has been just fine. And occasionally you'll get him to say something like, yeah, I made a mistake on that. I mean, think of how many times we've heard him tell Casey I was a few sips over the legal limit. I think I want to see a fight between Tiffany and Casey. I think I want to see a celebrity charity boxing match between those two, and I want all the donations to go to a worthy cause. I don't know why I just said that. Okay, moving on. What are you going to gain? How do you think you're helping him? Do you think offering a friend to someone who needs assistance, real assistance? We're not talking about roadside. We're not talking about financial. We're talking about life assistance. Are you going to coach them? Are you going to help them get out of that trailer? Are you going to stay there and help them rebuild? Are you going to be a real friend, or are you going to be an interjection? Are you going to be an interruption? Because he's a problem. He's not a project. So what are your real intentions? How are you going to help him? What are you going to do other than come in, be a flash, talk to everybody, maybe get people talking that should have never been talking, get old stories brought up that should have never been brought up, and then leave? No matter what you do, you're going to prevent him from making any real change. Lord is looking for the next big distraction. None of the catfish women call. He has nothing. He's going to be looking around his trailer, praying with that stupid fucking Bluetooth on that somebody calls. And here you come. You come rolling in to let him know that the stuff he was just getting ready to examine, the stuff that was setting in, the stuff that was sinking in, he was really going to have to look at. None of it matters anymore. I got a new person to speak to. You're going to give him your phone number, and he's going to call you a lot, and you're going to want to talk to him, and you're going to feel like you're doing some real good, because you don't gauge, you don't measure his progress in terms of his performance. You measure it in terms of his emotional state, his emotional reaction. Well, when I got off the phone with him, he was happy. He seemed positive. And you're going to say the word seemed a lot. Those of us who know what it takes to help people, we don't want seemed. We want proven results. We want to be able to say, he did this, he showed this. Not, it seemed like I was making progress. And even worse still, let's say you really did befriend him just to be a friend to Lorne Armstrong. You're destroying so much of what people have helped try to build. I'm not talking about the Catfish Network. I'm not talking about any of that. People in his life, outside of his life, showed them by their actions, their behaviors. We're done with you. We don't want to deal with you. His probation and parole, you're screwing up. You're done. You fix yourself, or there are going to be more problems. Here you come, as I've said before, as a balm. You want to be a Band-Aid. To say that you want to be a friend with a pedophile who's had real victims, a thief who's destroyed lives, all I have to do is list the things that this guy's done. And you can justify it in your head however you want. But you're a sympathizer. You sympathize with what he's done. And you're doing this for selfish reasons. You want to be the guy who's got the inside scoop on Lorne. I know the real Lorne. It's a power thing for you. You may not even know it, but it's a power thing for you. I made a point to myself to say never contact this guy directly, because I would do a lot of damage. I would screw it up. I don't have the right to insert myself in there as someone who's going to try to correct him, because I don't set the rules and parameters for that. The state and the feds do. They do that. And if they found out that a community member decided they were going to make friends with him, they would tell Lorne immediately, cut it off. You're done. This person discovered you through the community. This person discovered you through To Catch a Predator. They are not your friend because they met you organically. They are befriending you because of your notoriety and your infamy. And if he did do something, and if he did use your name as a defense, you would deserve it. Everything he did in the future, he would be like, well, I was talking to Billy Bob at the time, or Drew, or somebody, and, well, we kind of figured out that that's what I needed to do, so that's what I thought I needed to do, because that's what they told me. He told me to reconnect with these women I stalked. He told me it was okay to drink. He told me. And if you're a woman, the power you would have, the danger you would put yourself in, but the power you would have over his feeble mind would be astonishing. Keep in mind, this is only part 1, because in part 2, possibly part 3, I'm really going to break it down. I think if what I'm hearing is true, and there are people now, they're no longer interested in occupying this guy, trying to get him to change, trying to help rehabilitate him, and the only way he knows how, that's putting them in real situations with real people who aren't going to take his shit. If you're not going to be a part of that, and you want to call, and for some reason you just kind of want to be a friend and find out all the information nobody else had, maybe you keep it to yourself, that's on you. Because the long-term damage, the hope that you're going to give this guy, the validation, the justification, all of that is going to undo years, decades of help that people have tried to give him. Try to help him understand you can't treat people that way. You can't be the way that you are. But you're going to come in and you're going to try to give him advice. He's not going to listen. And you're going to keep trying to give it. And you're going to realize, what did I do this for? He's not listening to me. He's not really paying attention. I mean, he's hearing the words I'm saying, but that's about it. You are not going to help. The only person you're going to be trying to help is yourself. You're going to feel good after you make Lorne laugh a few times. After you make him feel good, you know he needs somebody to talk to, and you think, honestly, that if he just talks to me, if I can just be there for him, his life will turn around. That's not how it works. And if you ever think about doing that, think again. Please do not. Ask somebody who knows what they're doing, the consequences of your actions. And listen, don't be a Lorne, actually listen. Again, this is only part 1. There are so many things that need to be discussed, and I think I'm going to do it. I love you guys. I'll see you in the next one.
Why?